You thought middle school was awkward as a student? Try surviving it as the only adult in the room, legally responsible for 32 adolescents running on hormones and hot Cheetos. You spend your day arguing with 13-year-olds about deodorant, earbuds, and why 1895 isn't a clever answer to what ended in 1896. Welcome to middle school teaching, a job that's less Dead Poets Society and more Lord of the Flies. Middle school teaching isn't about lessons, it's about crowd control. You walk into class thinking maybe, just maybe, today will go smoothly. Then one kid bursts through the door yelling, "I licked a battery!" Two others are wrestling by the whiteboard, and someone in the back is chewing on their pencil, just watching. Then there's a kid you don't recognize. You ask why he's here. He shrugs and says, "I didn't feel like going to math." You thought you'd be teaching social studies, English, maybe even PE? Turns out it's more like trying to stack marbles on a trampoline while someone keeps jumping. Kids interrupt constantly, not to ask questions, but because they just remembered a TikTok video that has nothing to do with anything. And they have to tell the whole room. Middle schoolers aren't bad, they're just hormones and hoodies. They're unpredictable, surprisingly funny, occasionally brilliant, and convinced everything is either the best day of their life or a personal attack. One minute they're debating whether Pluto should be a planet. The next, they're fake fainting for laughs. No warning, no reason, just because. But it's not just the kids. The real gut punch? You're held responsible for everything they do, with no power to do anything about it. A student tells you to shut up in front of the class. You send him to the office. He comes back 10 minutes later with fruit snacks and zero consequences. No apology, no conversation, just a smug look and a sugar high. And somehow, that's still your fault. Admin's advice? Try building a relationship. Yeah, okay, I'll do that. Right after I referee this hallway fight. And update Savannah's intervention plan about how she's making steady progress in reading comprehension. Meanwhile, parents are emailing you at midnight about why their kid, who hasn't turned in an assignment since September, deserves an A. And if you push back, you're the problem. You don't understand him. You're not being supportive. You're too focused on grades, as if learning was a side quest. You're stuck between people who won't help and people who think they already are. And somehow, you're still expected to smile through it. Like you didn't just get roasted by a 7th grader named Brayden. You never get to sit. You don't have time to use the bathroom. You don't eat, not unless you count a handful of stale Skittles from the bottom of your desk drawer as lunch. There's no break, no silence, no recovery time. You go from dealing with a Chromebook that won't charge to a student meltdown because their friend saved their seat for someone else at lunch. To arguing with a kid who showed up with no gym clothes for the 3rd time this week and acts shocked that it's a problem. You finally get 2 minutes alone. And that's when a 6th grader shows up at your door to ask if you know how to get gum out of their hair. By the end of the day, your body aches, your voice is shot, and you vaguely smell like whatever they were serving in the cafeteria. You drive home in silence. No music, no talking, no thoughts. Just you, a steering wheel, and the quiet horror of remembering you still have 87 papers to grade. You get paid less than the guy who fixes the copy machine, and he doesn't get screamed at by tweens going through puberty. But everyone thinks it's a dream job because you get summers off, and you're done by 3:30. Sure, if by done you mean answering emails, documenting behavior incidents, and modifying lesson plans so they work for 6 different learning styles, along with one kid who's decided he learns best by wandering the hallway. The mood swings alone could qualify you for hazard pay. 1 minute kids treat you like their favorite person on earth, and the next you're public enemy number 1 because you asked them to write their name on a worksheet. The room smells like a mix of bad BO, Axe body spray, and whatever science experiment is growing inside someone's locker. You're constantly answering questions like, "Can I eat this rubber band?" And if I finish my quiz, can I watch cat videos? You say no, they do it anyway. Admin says, try positive reinforcement. As a kid pulls the fire alarm in the middle of your lesson and says it was part of a bet. You write it up. Admin asks, "Well, what do you think you could have done differently?" Then they schedule a mandatory training on self-care during your only free period, when you might have actually had time to take care of yourself. And just when you're ready to quit, they hit you with something real. One kid asks if you're okay because you looked tired during attendance. Another leaves a note on your desk that says, "You're my favorite teacher." A kid who's turned in nothing all year writes 3 pages about their dog dying. It's messy, it's raw, and it's the most honest thing you've read in months. They high-five you in the hallway. They tell you their mom finally got a job. One of them stays after class to tell you they've been thinking about becoming a teacher because of you. In that moment, despite the noise, the chaos, the smells, you remember why you got into teaching, to make a difference, even if it's just in one kid's life. So, if you've ever confiscated a jar of slime, had to explain that sitting on the bleachers isn't the same as participating in PE, or heard a student say, "I wasn't talking, I was just explaining what happened," you might be a middle school teacher. And if you made it to the end of this video without falling asleep at your desk or texting, "I can't do this," in your teacher group chat, check out our video, Why It Sucks to Be a Nurse. Because if you thought middle school was chaos, wait until someone asks if they're allowed to vape in bed, as long as they turn off their oxygen.